Hello and welcome back to Vox Terra. Today, I am going to share with you a really important interview I heard on Democracy Now! With NASA scientist Peter Kalmus. His interview, or that article, was titled "Fossil-Fueled Climate Change Left Out of Media Coverage of Hurricane Helene." A hurricane that ripped through the southeast U.S. with unprecedented rains flooding deep inland.
The planet's overheating. It's irreversible. It's caused by the fossil fuel industry, and the reason I say industry specifically and not fossil fuels is because this industry has been systematically lying and blocking action for almost 50 years, for decades and decades, and they've said publicly, testifying in front of Congress, that they plan to continue systematically blocking action, and this will get worse as the planet continues to get hotter. It's getting hotter every day. Every day we continue burning fossil fuels and allowing this industry to continue spreading disinformation and blocking action, the planet gets hotter.
So point one that everyone should know is fossil fuels are the driver of our heating planet, as I've shared with you in other shows. Almost 2 Fahrenheit degrees hotter than it was at the start of the Industrial Revolution. And that I've cited you to NASA, NOAA, and many other credible sources. And point two, industry lying and blocking action systematically. Heavy allegations. To that, I've cited you in the past to the book Merchants of Doubt, creating a case history of the disinformation campaigns put out by the fossil fuel industry to create confusion about their role in climate change.
Hotter ocean fuels these storms, causes them to intensify more rapidly, causes them to get much more powerful, and a hotter atmosphere, because we're living on an currently overheating planet, hotter atmosphere holds more water. So we get these intense rainfalls, which cause the sorts of flooding that's happening right now. It's still high waters in the western part of my state.
Now there, Peter Kalmus explained what I call the climate change mechanisms that any media outlets could be incorporating into their coverage of extreme and destabilized weather. That hotter atmosphere retains more moisture, holds onto it more greedily. Rainfall will, as a result, come down in these heavier deluges, or it's just not going to rain at all for longer periods of time. That as you heat up the Arctic faster than the rest of the planet, you begin to break down those atmospheric and oceanic streams and currents that have kept our weather stable for thousands of years. And this last part about the media is perhaps the most important part of his interview.
Yeah, so I was reading some articles about the flooding in Western North Carolina in the New York Times. The articles did not even mention climate change, not a single mention. This is what's driving it.
And not just fail to tie it back, but also fail to report the global scale, usually reporting each of these extreme weather events in isolation, not tying in the fact that almost everywhere is beginning hit with unprecedented rains, unprecedented floods, unprecedented dry spells, unprecedented wildfires.
And this impact will get worse. We'll see even worse storms in the future. It's all like the gradation of climate impacts, everything we've been seeing around the world happening more frequently, more intensely, until global systems of infrastructure, food, water start to break down in ways that are hard to imagine for us right now.
Remember, there's only really 2 main things that affect our planet's temperature. It's the composition of the atmosphere, the level of heat-trapping gases, and it's its proximity to the sun. Well, what's been changing most drastically is the composition of the atmosphere. But worse, you have these feedback loops kicking in now. We're losing that Arctic ice. That means we are losing the Earth's air conditioning system. And as we lose more of the ice, more heat will be absorbed.
We have everything we need to stop this problem. We have solar panels, we have battery storage, we have wind. If there was will, if the media let people know, if the presidents and world leaders let people know urgency and cause, I think we would solve this so incredibly fast.
I heard Greta Thunberg make a similar comment when she was younger, and some adults say to her, "Oh, Greta, why don't you just wait till you're grown up and maybe you'll invent something to solve this?" She's like, "No, we already know what to do. We just don't have the political will."
Yeah, I feel desperate as a climate scientist. I've been sounding the alarm since 2006. Other scientists have been sounding it for far longer. Dr. James Hansen in the 80s, even back before that, and we've been completely ignored.
I first read or heard about climate change, then called man-made greenhouse effect, all the way back in the 80s when I was reading Carl Sagan before the alarm was being rang. And then I myself personally started ringing that alarm bell. Well, going back to the 90s, I remember specifically in 1996 when we were having that historic El Nino. And in those days being looked at like, you're crazy. And since then, here we are 2024, and now people listen to me, but they're not getting the urgency of the situation.
You get politicians, even like President Biden, even Democrats, saying things that like, we listen to the scientists. And then, the last presidential debate, we had Trump saying this is a hoax and giving word salad with China. And then Vice President Harris saying climate change is real, but we're going to expand fracking, right? And that's the cause of climate change. So we're living in this strange dystopia where scientists are being completely ignored.
And the sad conclusion is that in this next US presidential election, even though the majority of people should be able to see that we live in an entirely toxic greenhouse gas laden economy, and we need to get out of this trap, they're not seeing it. The media is not showing it to them. They didn't learn about it in school. And when they go to vote, they're probably going to be voting on something unrelated. Even though we have a choice between one party, the Democrats, that seems to take some heed from us environmentalists, and another, the Republicans, that currently in its current state is in deep denial and even tries to shut us up.
He says, you're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one. We're closing the border and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
Well, I hope you found this video helpful. And if you did, please make sure you are subscribed, you are commenting, you are liking, you are hitting that notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. You are donating at Patreon, joining my 2 patrons. Thank you so much, Bella Grussi and Environmental Coffee House. And as always, until next time, peace be with you.